Hey, whoop. Evening, Dale boy. How are you, mate?
All the better for seeing you. How's you? How's your week?
I am. Honestly, it's been a bit shit. No, not shit. No, it's not been shit. It's been. I always, you know what? I was talking to a girl at work last week, and we're talking about holidays, and the last time I actually took 2 weeks off my work would be about probably 6 years ago. That was the last time I actually had 2 weeks off. Since then, I've only ever had like a week off. I think the longest I actually have off my work is at Christmas time. You get about 9 days, but then everybody's off then, so it doesn't really count. So I mean, I was off. I was at work last Monday, and then I was off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it felt like I'd been off for ages. You know that when you've not been at your work for like 5 days, it feels like you've been away. And my job's one of these jobs is nobody really picks up what I do, so it's when you open up Outlook, and then it says update, and then you see that little bar that says like 20 meg, and it's going, and then it goes woof. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Honestly.
Then you spend the whole of the morning going through the lot.
So yeah, and then you get people moaning, but no, it's been all right. It's been all right. I was back at Cooksoul on Monday. I hadn't been at Cooksoul because I was away, obviously, down at Alton Towers, and then I was down seeing you as well. And then a week before that, there was a couple of I didn't make it. for a couple of weeks, so or for a couple of lessons. So I wasn't dreading going back, but because it's a very, very physical kind of class, you're just like, oh shit, bloody hell, how am I going to get on? You know what I mean? And it's if the guy had phoned and says, listen, the class is cancelled, I'd probably been quite happy. But once I was there, I'm fine. It's like all these things, exercise related. It's usually the fear of going, the dread of going. It's like running. I thought, I can't be bothered going a run. But the minute you got your shoes on, you've got your running shoes on, you've got your vest and your shorts, you step out that front door, you're fine.
Yeah, it's all mind, isn't it? At the end of the day,
it is. So how's your life been post me not being there? You got fucking peace and quiet. I would imagine.
I think my mum's had the hardest time because she likes fussing. So I can
categorically say she fussed like nobody else. She's such a sweet person. You're blessed to have her as a mum, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, she's lovely, my mum. But yeah, so you sort of when you left, it's sort of like, I'm only looking after you now. Oh, thanks. You know, cheers. You know, and then of course, I was around on the Monday because I took the Monday off. I was actually exhausted when you left on Sunday. I had the most difficult time Sunday with my double vision and all sorts of stuff. But Monday, I did some things with my mum, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And then Tuesday, it was back to work. And I think Wednesday probably was the hardest for my mum because then I was at work at Bicester. I was actually at the office. So she was by herself. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in herself, she was all right. From my point of view, the week, yeah, interesting, really. It's that sort of time where on Monday I had to do a number of things before I went back to work. It's car insurance renewal time. There's one thing.
Nah.
Then I start to look at my accounts a little bit closer, and I noticed that the phone company that I get my mobile phones put the tariff up, and it put it up over the last year and a half to the point where I might as well have a new phone. And so I phoned them up today. That's what I was on the phone for earlier on. And they trap you so well. It's like, well, you have to buy yourself out the account and that'll cost you this much and all this sort of stuff. And I just turned around to them and said, well, look, I've got a lot to think about, but I'll phone you in a month's time because that's when my options are better with you. And I might just leave. Don't know yet. Have that in the back of your mind for the next time I phone you. And then I just put the phone down. So it's been one of those up and down weeks, really. It's been, been a bit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into any details, obviously, in here, but I've had a couple of things I've had to kind of be dealing with, which has kind of put a bit of strain on a lot of things. But let's just write a quick hello to everybody that's tuned in tonight. Thank you very, very much. So it was always nice to have people. See, when you do these live streams, I mean, especially some of the ones that I don't really plan. You're halfway through the intro and it's got viewers 0, and you're like, oh fuck. Sometimes I get to a point I think, right, if it starts up and there is nobody watching for the first couple of minutes, I'll just come back out, because sometimes when you go into these things, live streams, whatever it is, you need the interaction. If you've not got anything planned, if you start a live stream and there's nobody in, you're like, right, I'll not bother. But fortunately, it usually, I think StreamYard takes a kind of few seconds to update. So, yeah, it's great to have everyone along tonight. I just noticed Mr. Steve Jiu-Jitsu Gamer is currently in Spain. You lucky bastard, Steve.
I bet he's got a drink in his hand as well. He hasn't said that. I bet you he has.
Nah, but seriously, thank you very much for everyone that's tuned in tonight. Just talking about, companies ripping you off. I've got a boiler cover with Scottish Gas. I think they call they seem to chop and change. It's British Gas, Scottish Gas. I don't know. I think they're both part in one of the same.
Didn't they call it boiler care or something like that?
Something or home care. It's called
home care. Yeah.
So I've got that, and I've never used it. I mean, I used it. I think I've used it twice. Once was to unblock a sink, and one was to put a new shower head on my thing. But I've really not used it. I was paying 38 quid a month, I should say, And then in March, I got a notification to say it was going up to 58 quid. So I'm thought, so you're going to almost double it. So I phoned them up. I says, just cancel it. Well, can you tell me why? It says, because you've just stuck 20 quid on. You've effectively increased it by about 80%. I says, I've never claimed. I says, I'll just go somewhere else. Lots of companies offer this service, so just cancel it. Oh, can we? I says, no, just cancel it. And this is, and I says, I says, I would, I can't understand why it's gone up by so much. And he says, would you consider staying? I says, just do it for the same price and I'll stay. And they went, yep, we can do it. And then they came back and says, we can do it for £40. I says, all right, so £2 more. I says, that's fine. I says, great, I'm happy. There you go. You've just saved a customer. So that was that. That was back in March. And then I was looking at my bank statement on my phone a couple of weeks ago, and I saw bloody British Gas Home Care 58 quid. I went, wait a minute. So I looked at my emails, and of course there was nothing in writing to say what they'd done. So I phoned them up, gave them my account details. I says, you promised me you were going to put it to £40. And she goes, oh, I'm just having a look at your account. No, there's nothing here to say that. I says, well, I can assure you, you said you're going to do it for £38. I says, look, just cancel it. I said, oh, well, just give me a minute. And then she came back and says, how much did you say they're going to do it for? I goes, 40. She goes, oh, what about 38? I goes, that's fine. I says, great. I says, can you put it in my account so that if I have to phone back, I can, and somebody looks at my account, they can see. And I said, oh, hang on. I said, wait a minute, before you go, I says, when's that going to start from? He goes, it'll start from like next month. I says, before you go, you've overcharged me. You've basically overcharged me for the last 6 months. So she went, how does a £55 refund sound? I went, that's fine. Great. She goes, well, what I can't do is give you a £55 refund, but what I'll do is I'll take like £11 off the next, whatever it is, 6 payments. Yeah. So I says, you're going to, and then she says, it'll be £26 a month for the next 6 months. I says, that's brilliant. Great. Thanks very much. But it just shows you, you know what? I mean, I actually kind of got me thinking. They had no proof. Well, at least they said they didn't. They had no proof that I had agreed this new price structure. So if that's the case, they basically agreed. They agreed that to match what I was looking for, and they agreed to give me a refund. I'm tempted to bloody phone up Virgin and say the same thing. Oh, you agreed you're going to knock it down to 20 quid. Yeah. Just shows you if you don't ask though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've considered the double bluff myself, when it comes along, like not look anywhere else, but go, look, I'm phoning up because cost of living and everything. I've got to look at this, and I've looked at my bill with you, and can't afford it anymore. And then they'll go, oh, we'll put you through to the retention team, and you know what I mean? And then it's suddenly, all of a sudden, they start negotiating and all of this sort of stuff. So, but what happened to you is the same sort of with the car insurance. So I phoned up my car insurance and said, no, I'm not happy with that quote. It's 4 weeks away, and you've upped my car insurance by 60 quid. And just to give you a background on this, I didn't work last year because I was going through a few things. So actually, when it says that I'm insured for like 9,000 miles, which is estimated or whatever it was, I did less than 1,000. Right? So you got a lot of money for me not even driving my car around, because all I did was, a trip to the doctors and stuff. So they looked at it and they went, we could do it at this, and it was less than the Go Compare price that I'd got up on the screen, and it's the same company but different underwriters. All it is, different underwriters. I added Key Care to my account, and it's still less than the quote that I had last year. Do you see what I mean? It was like less. I'm going. Yeah. So basically, I've got my car insurance this year £10 less than it was the year before, and I've got key cover as well. So, and it's the same company, and yet they wanted another £60 off of me.
I think I think a lot of these things depends on who you get on the phone. A lot of people, when I said cancel it, they would have said, that's fine, we'll cancel it, that's your account cancelled. It just depends. But you know what? You need to push back sometimes, because I think, like everybody, I'm getting heartily sick of everybody trying to get as much money out of me as possible. I mean, the petrol's, it's gone up about 15 pence a litre in the last probably 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah. There wasn't much of a change for you when you were down here, but it was a little bit, wasn't it? I think it was 147 when you left.
Aye, and I was paying 140, probably about 145 last week, and now it's up to 152. It's steadily going up, and up and up and up and up. You know. Anyway, we're not here to moan. Yeah, this is going to be
makes a change.
Yeah. Well, you've probably seen Dell's video. I was down at Zzap Live last weekend, and I drove down with a friend on last Friday, in fact, a week ago. Drove down. It was a bollock a journey. I think I've touched on this on the Sunday stream. It turns into an 8.5 hour journey because of there was 2 delays. And Dell very, very kindly offered to put myself and my friend up, which was fantastic. So I arrived at your bit about, I don't know, 6 o'clock, something like that, was it?
No, it was literally about 5:15.
Oh, what? Yeah.
You weren't too far off of 5:15, but by the time you'd come in, give them a mama flowers, some chocolates, a cake, shook everybody's hands, had a cup of tea and everything. It was about 6ish then.
Bear in mind, we left about 8:30 in the morning, and that we got down there at 5:15, whatever it was. It was 8.5 hours. Put this, it was 8.5 hours from when we left, which was a long drive. So on the Friday night, Craig very kindly took us to the local chip emporium, and we had some chips, and what did I had? A fish supper.
Haddock and chips you had.
It was lovely, and I have to say, the chips were awesome. They really were. I mean, I mentioned last year when I was down at Panthers down in Devon, he took me to, was it Wayward Ho or Westward Ho?
I think that's what you called it. I mean, I'd have to go back to that video myself. But
it's Steve will be able to confirm, it's called Westward Ho with an exclamation mark after it. There can't be many places in the UK that have got exclamation marks.
I know it started the chip debate, because then you started talking about chippy sauce and all sorts of stuff, and everybody started asking you what the hell's chippy sauce, and you started talking about what it is and all that sort of stuff.
Westward Ho, that's it. Thank you, LFC. But anyway, the chips down there were phenomenal. They really were, and I have to say the chips that I got when I was down last week were probably just as good. I don't know if it's the way you cook them or whatever. I mean, it's all vegetable oil nowadays. I don't know if do they cook an animal fat still down in England?
I know they change the oil, don't they? And then my father used to tell me it's better in the winter than it is in the summer, because they used newer potatoes, and it's like old type potatoes when you get to the autumn, and that, and those are much better when they're fried. And I never really thought about it too much, but of course the potatoes will be different coming from somewhere else. So will the oil and everything else. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that was good. And then I think we came into your room. It's actually quite weird when I walked in, because obviously I can see it. I see it every week in the video, and it's like going into a film studio, because it's like, this is where he records.
Yeah, with the monitors and everything. Yeah.
I've got to say, you've got a great setup. By the way, see your camera. I mean, I'm blurred. I'm super blurred. You're really razor sharp, and I'm using a Logitech 1080p camera, but StreamYard will not, unless you pay for it. I used to be able to do 1080p with StreamYard, and then they upped the price, so I can only go to 720. But how come your picture's a lot sharper than mine? Why is that?
I don't know. There is one thing though. When I entered the studio today, and I haven't been on StreamYard for a long time, and it's only ever when somebody invites me. When it said use your camera, at the bottom it's got enhance your picture. So I ticked it.
Oh, has it? Oh,
so really? It might be that. But that's the one I can guess, you know?
Yeah. But it was good. So I think we just kind of messing around with the PlayStation 5. First time I've ever seen it, actually. Quite impressed with it. Does it make me want to go out and buy one? Probably not. Nah. Nah. I mean, it's
They've lowered the price though. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
prices now at like $399, and I'm going, wow. When I bought it, was 500 and something,
aye.
and then now it's $399, and they give you a game and another controller. It's almost like
Aye. If you were one of these numpties that paid like 700 quid for it, you'd be a wee bit. I mean, I don't know. I
Oh.
think anyone's foolish to go out and it depends how much you want it. I mean, the PlayStation 5. I mean, when did it first come out?
It wasn't it like something like September, October, just before COVID happened.
You're joking. It came out before COVID.
I think it did, or it was just on the. It's
Aye.
really hard to think now because I was a manager and I was working an awful lot, but I do remember having to go outside and you know, all that web refreshing you had to keep doing, otherwise you couldn't get it, you know, because it was
yeah,
we've got this stock coming in and all of that sort of stuff. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that it was September, October, and everybody wanted one for Christmas and nobody could get one.
You're probably right. I mean, it came out and then COVID came along and then chip shortages kicked in and you quite simply couldn't get it. So even if you bought one now, you think you're getting a brand new console. It's actually like 4 years old.
There we are. We were in the second lockdown because it was over Christmas.
Was it? Yeah.
Of that year. So we were going into the second lockdown.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Wasn't that? It seems like an age.
I know. I was actually talking to a guy at work, a health and safety guy that came in, and he was telling me he was like at death's door, quite literally. He thought he was going to die through it. And we're just saying it. When you think back now, it was a horrible, horrible time. I mean, they're wearing the masks and that. I mean, it didn't just last 6 months. It was like almost 3 years. We're probably 2 years when we had masks on, was it? Or was it more than that?
I know. I think that's about right.
Yeah. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was a horrible, horrible
Wash
time.
your hands, sing it to Happy Birthday or whatever it was. Happy birthday to you.
Anyway, we're going off topic slightly. We're going from PlayStation 5 to COVID, but yeah, and you were demonstrating your kind of movie setup. I mean, that TV you can see behind Dale, that's obviously the TV you watch your films on, and you've got a nice recliner, a sort of leather recliner on your left,
just there,
and you've got all the speakers perfectly kind of positioned. Yeah, really, really, really impressed with that. I mean, the thing is, I've got not a bad setup in my living room. The problem I've got is I've got neighbours either side of me, and to get decent sound in a film, I think you've got to turn up quite loud, and I can't really do that. But so I did. I think I did ask you, and I can't remember if you actually gave me an answer. Is there in fact, I think you shook your head. Is it possible to try and recreate decent stereo or like surround the sound with a kind of headset or that, or does this really not work?
Oh, you can. You can buy some really, really expensive headsets, and I think soundbar technology has come on leaps and bounds as well. I think the thing with headsets though is that I find after a while they get uncomfortable, even with nice foam stuff. It's like I know I've got something on my head and it's covering this, and I'd rather fill the room with sound than I would have these cones pointing in my ears. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
but that's just me though.
Aye. Yeah. Oops, just chopped my pen in the floor there. But no, I was mega impressed with that. So anyway, yeah, we had a fairly early night, and then we left. What time? I think did it start at 10? I think it was.
Yeah, the trouble was I didn't gauge the traffic, so I think we left at about 10 past 9 to get there for 10. I made a bit of a boo-boo on one of the junctions to get off because we were too busy chatting to you, and we got outside the hotel just about the time that the place was starting to open. They would have been like 10 o'clock, but we had to find a car parking space. So we were going up and down and around, and it was a bit of a weird setup. But we finally found a car park, and we literally, I think it was just pure fluke that we went round the corner and it was just reverse in and then pay the parking ticket, which you paid. Very nice of you. And then we had a guy that thought, I'm pretty sure this guy thought we were stalking him for the rest of the day because he was going to the event as well. And we kept seeing him everywhere. It was like, I constantly saw him.
So
Weird.
yeah, Zzap Alive. Where did that come from? Yeah, Zzap Live. If you don't know what Zzap Alive is, it's Zzap was a Commodore 64 magazine. You all know that, but it was a Commodore 64 magazine that came out in 1985, and it ran for about, I don't know, till early 90s, something like that. Although it died long before that. It just became a kind of a shadow of its former self. I mean, I can remember going into like John Menzies in, I don't know, 1992, and as you did, you would sit and, I mean, people don't do that now. People don't go into like W.H. Smith and read the magazines, but I used to do that. I would stand and read magazines, and I remember picking up like Zzap, and it was like 4 pages thick, but it had like 4 or 5 cassettes. I mean, if you lifted it up, the whole cover would collapse with the weight of the cassette. So, I mean, Zzap probably ran for, I don't know, it probably had about 4 or 5 good years, and then it just became a kind of...
Yeah, was it 86 or 85? 85.
It came out in 85, May 1985 it came out. Certain things are stuck in my head, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So Zzap, it was a really good magazine. It was a kind of fanzine type magazine. It was written by guys who played games. Obviously, Crash was the Spectrum version, and Amtix, I think it was called. That was the Amstrad. So they had Chris Wilkins, who is the sort of the big cheese with Fusion Books. He does all these books, all these various Kickstarters and that kind of stuff. The Ocean book, there's loads of books. But anyway, so he did the Zzap Live. I think it was earlier on this year. And I think it was quite a big success. So he thought, well, we need to do the same for the Commodore 64 kind of fanboys. And this was it. This was the very, very first one, I believe, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And first impressions were not great for me. What about you, Alan? What was your first impressions?
It was in the Holiday Inn in Kenilworth, and there wasn't a lot of parking. Well, I mean, that's not their fault. There wasn't a great deal of parking, but yeah, we went in and we got our hand stamped. We had to show our ticket, and we got our hand stamped. And there was, how many sections were there? There was like I wouldn't even say a big room. There was an area with Commodore 64s. There was an area with Amigas. There was an area inside the cafe that had a couple of, well, it had a few machines. There was a Vectrex.
I was going to film you with that. We never got round to that.
We never actually got around to playing it. And then there was also, I mean, there was some bizarre things. Like there was a PlayStation 3. What is that doing?
We never got to the bottom of that, but what it seemed to be is there was all these people that had put a console of some sort in a suitcase that you could connect up, and you saw, and I didn't, and I went, oh wow, yeah. I think The Last of Us on a PS4. The guy behind us he had a 360, and I think he was playing Project Gotham Racing or something.
Yeah.
And then all around, even in the Amiga area, there were these plastic suitcase things with screens built in. And I went, I know that these things are about, but I don't know why they're so popular and all that sort of stuff, because I thought the panels weren't particularly great, really.
I didn't really see the point of having a PlayStation 4 running Last of Us at a Commodore 64 event. I didn't really see the relevance of that. So they had that. That was kind of in the eating area, or was it the bar type bit as well? Yeah. And then in the sort of the main kind of thoroughfare, they had a number of arcade cabinets.
It's almost like it was almost like the corridor that took you to things. Was lined with arcade machines.
Aye, that's right. When you came in the sort of the back entrance, in fact, a few people were commenting on videos that you could actually come in different doors and you could effectively come in for absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? But anyway, so yeah, when you came in the sort of entrance, you had like the sort of the corridor, and what arcade machines were there? There was a MAME cab running.
Yeah. Atrocious.
Yeah,
bad joystick on that.
It was actually the same. It was the same cabinet that I've got downstairs, except mine's has got decent joysticks. This thing was crap. There was no movement at all. And I think, what did we play? We played Donkey Kong, and then we had a 2-player game of Dodo and Patchy. And I think you couldn't even bloody move. You couldn't move down or something.
Oh, what a waste of this guy came along and he said, "Oh, Donkey Kong, you need a 4-way joystick for that. You know, if you're going to play an 8-way game, you really want to play one of these 8-way shooters or something. I'll put this on for you." So he put Dodo, whatever it was on, and I was there going, "All right, then let's go. At least I can aid you, right?" I couldn't move down. I'm going, "Oh, this is good."
Well, I was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't want to finish my game of Donkey Kong anyway."
Yeah, that was the other thing.
He just fucking switched off. He was obviously just trying to be helpful. So there was that. There was a machine playing Millipede. I saw that.
I wanted to go on that,
yeah,
because that had a trackball, and I don't think I've played Millipede with a trackball. I've played Millipede in the arcades when there's been a little joystick.
Yeah,
and I've played Centipede on my X arcade with a trackball and the MAME. But it would have been nice to have actually stood in front of the machine and actually played it, but I didn't get to that one.
Do you know that Millipede was another one of these games like Miss Pac-Man, where these, not hackers, this group of people took Centipede and they added an extra chip in it. To basically give it a second kind of wind. And they did the same with Miss Pac-Man, and I think they also did the same with Missile Command. And then eventually Atari were getting pissed off because pubs weren't, or arcades weren't buying as many machines. It's because these guys were going in and going, for $200 we can give you an updated version of Pac-Man, and we'll call it Mrs. Pac-Man. And then eventually Atari offered these guys jobs. So yeah, Millipede was like a sort of a bastardized version of Centipede. So other machines, there was I think there was a Sega Saturn one, got a big screen running.
There was, but before the Sega Saturn, I remember you trying to have a go on the Juniper arcade machine, or it said Arcade Legends or something.
Quite nice looking,
It was a nice machine, and it had spinner, and it had a trackball and
two
all
spinners,
that sort of stuff. Yeah, two spinners, and but it seemed very much like it was. You had to sort of load up the game, and it was connected to the internet, and certain games were there and certain games weren't, and didn't know how the menu worked. And I was going, it's a lot of faff, isn't it? It's almost like
we couldn't get a game to start. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I walked past it, everybody was playing Bubble Bobble on it. So I don't know if it was the only game that was on it or what.
Other machines that I saw, they had a Missile Command which belonged to Archer McLean. Sadly, it worked for a wee while, and then when I went past later on, it wasn't working. And then I'm sure it was working again, but somebody was playing it, and then eventually it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a bit of a shame.
I think I heard as well that the Millipede was Archer's as well.
Oh, was it really? Yeah. And then there was a couple. I think just as you're about to go into the Commodore 64 lounge, I think there was a CD 32.
32.
Just I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, when we got down there, we went into the Commodore 64 room, and it was quite busy, wasn't it? I mean, there was a lot of people. You couldn't.
A lot of people about.
Just kind of milling about.
You sort of walked through, and there's people around the doors, which makes it feel like it's busy anyway.
Yeah.
And on the right-hand side, instantly was Fusion Books with a load of Oliver Frey artwork.
Yeah.
And then on the left-hand side, there was a big table, and it had Commodores all the way around.
Yeah, that was the one.
That's the bit that I remember. As soon as you walk through,
I think one of the machines, which is a wee bit disappointing, one of the machines had the 64 with a shit joystick, and that was running.
That's right.
Iridium. And then so there was I don't know how many. I mean, how many Commodore 64s was in there?
Oh,
about 20 or something.
You're asking a question. Probably more than that, because over the other side they had an SX64 as well, but it was all intermingled with Commodore 16s as well, so it's a bit hard to judge. Do you know what I mean? Because we even saw a very early version of the Commodore 16 that looked like a +4. It was actually it was called a Commodore 116, and I tried to explain to you. I think that was supposed to be the breadboard, the bread bin version, but the American one Do you know what I mean? So it looked like all of them were supposed to look like the +4. The whole range was supposed to look like the +4, but the European ones came out like a VIC-20 and a Commodore 64, a bread bin.
And I think there was also a kind of, I'd never seen it before. It was a Commodore 64, but it was a kind of weird looking kind of.
Yeah, I was sort of explaining to you, wasn't I?
Thing.
Before the Commodore 64 came out, and after the Japanese version got the Commodore 64 early, I think it was called a G1. It was called a Commodore 1000 or something. It was a silver. It was a membrane keyboard. There was this business computer that came out, and it was the first time the SID chip was used.
Ah, right.
And then and then the 64 came out 3 months later with the proper SID. Do you know what I mean? So it was a business computer. It looked like a pet, like a Commodore PET. But it had a SID chip in it.
Yeah. Ox is saying there, what would you have improved? Sorry, what would have improved the Zzap live event in your opinion? I mean, we'll tell you what, can we answer that in a wee while? We'll just talk about what we kind of saw, and then I think we'll definitely answer that, Ox. So yeah, in the Commodore 64, there was a room, there was quite a few C64s. They were just playing it was almost like some random games. I mean, I played Attack of the Mutant Camels, I think, on the 64.
Yeah, because you came up to me and you said, "Hey, I got to level 4. Do you want to go?" I went, "No, bloody way am I going to beat that high score?" And then to the left of that, there was Leaderboard and Uridium. There was all these different ones. Paperboy, I think, was right to the left of you.
I saw that. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There was really nothing. I mean, the thing is, I go to all these events. And I think, what am I doing here? Because I've got a Commodore 64 there. I can play all these games back home. So there was I didn't have any real urge or to play anything. I mean, I played Attack of Mutant Camels because that is a great game. But I think the highlight for me in that room was they had, in fact, Craig and myself, or Dale, I should say, since you're online, Dale and myself were standing, and I turned around and I said, "Bloody hell, look at the state of these." And I went, "There's a Commodore 64 and an Atari 800, and they're fucking manky as anything."
Oh, they were orange.
I'm going to actually share the picture. Let's have a wee look. Let's see if I can. It's been that long since I've used this bloody StreamYard thing. Present. Share screen and entire screen.
Yeah, I think your pictures were close up. I had them. The pictures I gave you were with you playing them. So
does that do full screen? That middle button, does it? No, it doesn't. No,
probably starts a slideshow.
Yeah, man.
Press escape.
Right, there we go. We're back. Right, it doesn't matter. You can see it. So anyway, that. And then there was also Commodore 64. Now, what it actually told you here, this little cabinet, I'm moving the mouse. Oh, you can see the mouse pointer. This cabinet on the left had a number of games that were programmed by Archer McLean. And there was a little card to say that this Atari 800 was his actual Atari 800 that he programmed Drop Zone on. And it's the same with the C64. Let's see if I can. There you go. That's Archer's Commodore 64.
Yeah.
It was manky as fuck. Who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody, and they said that Archer's brother says, "Look, do you want these for the event?" And I thought that was really nice. That was probably one of the highlights for me, was actually getting to play Drop Zone on the machines that he actually
the actual machine he coded it on.
Yeah,
that's what you have to be aware of. It's like that. He sat down, wrote it, compiled it, and then probably played it for the first time on that machine.
And obviously made all the more poignant the fact that Archer's no longer here, which was it was sad. Well, not sad, but it just made you think. So we had these. So that was quite nice. That was kind of a bit of a highlight for me. And did you take anything away from the Commodore 64 room? Anything that you thought that was particularly good?
I thought it was a nice idea, but really actually a stupid idea when you come to think of it, where opposite where you were playing your games, they had a load of music keyboards. So they had the Commodore music keyboard,
Yeah.
then they had a big piano version of the Commodore keyboard, which is the music expander. And if you went all the way along, there was a Commodore PET even. I didn't, I actually had a quick look at the Commodore PET. It was really weird to look back at that because I hadn't seen one since school. But how can you put a piano in there? You won't hear it. So it's really daft.
Yeah.
It's a daft thing because it's like, here's this, and you could go down and choose banjo or whatever it was, and you pressed it on the, and you couldn't hear the damn thing. Well, no, everybody's firing and shooting and kicking the shit out of everybody, and all you could hear was,
Is it just me, or do you kind of feel like it was almost like thrown together? There was no real theme. There was no real theme to anything. It was just like you say, all these musical keyboards that you couldn't play, and some. I mean, there were quite a few of the games or the computers that they had running. When you tried to start the game, you couldn't get it started. So
yeah, I thought it was akin to an inside car boot sale at first.
That's been a bit kind.
As soon as I came in, there's somebody trying to sell me magazines. If I moved into the center of the room on the left, there was a load of cassettes that people were trying to sell you. And if you went over to where Archer McLean was, his section, it was all Cytronic and trying to sell their cartridges and vinyl SID music and a SID bit. And then over the other side, you had a Commodore director sort of sitting by himself while a load of other games are sort of like floating about. It's like it's almost like they tried to vary it up, but it doesn't work because those people were isolated. It was like, well, you're in your own little section.
I mean, they had Dave Pleasance, who was, I think it was he like the marketing manager for Commodore or something.
Yeah, he was signing his book, wasn't he?
Aye, and he. I'm not going to go into details on this, but there's apparently he's a bit of he's trying to kind of make money out of this sort of the hobby, and there's a lot of people don't really agree with kind of what he's doing. But he kind of looked out of place. I mean, he had a bloody bright pink t-shirt on,
white hair,
and he was like ancient looking. And if you didn't know who he was, you'd think, who's that? You know what I mean? And I don't know. I didn't really have any real interest in going up and speaking to him. I mean, I don't know what you would say. Again, when we got in, there was going to be a number of and I hate this word, celebrities or gaming celebrities. I mean, I spotted Gary Penn. He was kind of jumping about all over the place. He's quite hard to miss. Quite a tall guy actually. He had kind of spiky hair, I think. And he had like bright orange training shoes, so he was quite kind of you could see him, you could see him coming. But I was wanting to go up and say hello to these people, but anytime you kind of went near them, there was always people around them. And what I'm not going to do is go standing waiting to speak to somebody. I would much rather just, if I see them on their own, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Thanks very much for everything you've done. It's the same with Andrew Braybrook. He was milling about. Then Jeff Minter came in with Giles. They came in at some point. It was. It just. But I just kind of feel like the whole thing was just, as you say, it was like a car boot sale, and it was just kind of, there was no real theme or anything. Paul Patrick's saying there the crash event at Walsall Stadium looked a lot better. Yeah, I did watch a video of that, and it did look much better. I don't know. I just felt that
I think the biggest mistake is they didn't, or they couldn't, one of the two, find a big enough venue, because to hold the event at the bottom of a hotel with everybody that's booking in and booking out right near the elevators, you couldn't you couldn't work out which people were here for the event and which people were just booking in because they were staying over that night, just passing through or visit, so it was there was supposed to be this stamp that you went on your hand. Well, that disappeared after 1 minute. There was the guy that was there I don't think he checked anybody that was just walking past us on the left-hand side. And for all I know, those people were there for the event as well and didn't pay a penny. They just stay. They got to. They had the event and were there for the whole day. For all I know,
Yeah.
and we didn't even know that there were goodie bags for people that had paid and had this. They called it an early bird thing. It was
Aye.
your friend that pointed that out, and I said, "What? So I should have got a goodie bag?" Yeah. They were all underneath the tables. They never handed them out to the people that came in.
And I
And
have
I'm
to
just
say,
going, wow.
yeah,
You
I
know.
mean the goodie bag. It was Chris Wilkins' part of his Fusion thing. He's got a thing called is it Fusion Magazine? I think it's called.
Yeah,
And
Fusion.
it's
Yeah.
just I've got a number of them there, and I've not looked at them. It's just like it's based on computer games, and it's all different systems. It looks like they had a lot of doublers, and they were just randomly giving you two editions, and you also got in fact, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, the magazines were random because I got issue 8 and you had issue 32.
Yeah, you also got this Zzap Sid Sizzlers, which is all right. I've not played it yet.
Have you actually looked at the actual printing of the label? Because that's really impressive.
Is it? There you go. There's all it.
If you actually have a look at the label, it's really nice.
If I can get the bloody thing open. Oh, there we go. So that was your goodie bag. You got this. Oh, yeah, I like that. I like the fact that it's actually a black.
It's a black disc, and it looks like a single.
Oh, that is pretty smart.
I like that. I went, wow, that's good for free.
Yeah, that is. Oh, it's actually got kind of grooves like a record.
Yeah, it looks like a single.
That's pretty smart actually.
And what I didn't know, in the bottom of the bag, there was a little button badge.
Well, I must have chucked mine out. I didn't know that. No, I must admit that's nice. I do like that. That was. Hang on, I just found some random picture. I don't know who these. Is it going to come up there? I don't know who these guys are. Bloody hell!
I didn't get too many pictures with the celebrities that you know, but the ones that you did for me, I was really happy that I got, because I took a load. I was sort of like going around like your entourage. Oh yeah, I'll take a picture of this. I was going like this. Oh, there's Graham. We'll take a picture of that. And all that sort of stuff.
You took one of me and Chris Wilkins, and you're like, "Oh, get a picture," and I'm like, "I'm not fucking wanting a picture."
Wow.
Anyway,
it's just
it's all right.
I just thought to myself, at least you've got one, and you can't turn around and say that you can't remember the event because there's the picture of it with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's one of them. Me and Mr. Cowie. I don't know. That should be a caption competition if it eventually comes up.
Mm.
Come on. Why is it taking so long to come up? Try again. Hey! I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what he's saying to me, but
I thought the meeting. I even said, didn't I? Said, look, the meeting of minds.
It was nice. I mean, the big thing the thing that I always take away from all these kind of events is it's chatting to people that is good.
You were playing cross out just before that.
What was that? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You were on an A1000, and I was telling you that was my first machine, and here's where the keyboard slides under, and you were going, oh right, yeah.
But anyway, so that was a Commodore 64, but and they had an Amiga one, and if I'm being honest, I think we were talking about that. I said that although that I had the Amiga for what, I don't know. When did I get my Commodore Amiga? 1989, and I had it for about 3 years. I've got I mean, I like the games, but I don't have any real nostalgia for like the hardware. And in this room, there was all these like souped up Amigas, and there was one that was like a see-through Amiga with lights in it, and one had a Raspberry Pi in it, and all this. And the way I see it is, a Commodore Amiga has got, I don't know, 1 mega memory. That's a Commodore Amiga. The minute you start adding accelerator boards, it's no longer an Amiga. And I don't personally, I don't really get the whole thing.
I think that's true for the majority, but not for everybody, because I had an A1000, right? I never even had an A500, and that looked like a big business machine. And that's quite right. It only had 1 mega, you didn't expand it very much. But I did have an Amiga 4000, and I did have an Amiga 3000, and those had gen locks and video toasters, and those had accelerator boards in them. But if you had the A600, if you had the A1200, if you had the A500, you'd be thinking, my Amiga was 2 meg of RAM max, and it looked like a keyboard, and it plugged into the telly. And that was the majority of the people that bought one. Do you know what I mean? But there were people like me that bought the bigger one, came with a monitor. It looked like a business machine. It played games, but I was doing things like ray tracing, deluxe paint, all sorts of stuff. And I had fun. I had as much fun with that as I was playing games.
Here's the thing for me. If you had like back in the day when the Amigas were like the machine to have before PCs came along, if you had like an accelerated one, then yeah, you could use deluxe paint and you could do rendering and all this kind of stuff. But now, and I'm going to get crucified for saying this, but to me, the Amiga is, other than for playing games, the Amiga's almost obsolete. I don't really see the purpose of it. I know people there's still going to be people that want to just use their Amiga and go, oh, I can go on YouTube and I can render videos and I can do this and I can do that. That's great. But the PC has kind of killed that side of the Amiga for me. The only thing that I'm interested in Amiga is games, and there's probably 99% of the games you could run on a bog standard, what you call it, can run on a bog standard Amiga. So I don't see the purpose of putting in an accelerator board in something nowadays. I know that's just me, and there's lots of people that love the Amiga and they still use it daily. But for me, it's just about playing games.
No, and I'd agree. There's no point a game company back in the late 80s designing a game for the A4000 because they'd get no sales. So like that machine was like £2,000, £3,000. You wrote for the bottom end because that's what you got when you bought it out the box. They either came unexpanded or came with a 512k RAM pack, bumping it up to a meg or something, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they designed them for. And then it's only those bigger machines that had accelerator boards in them, because you wouldn't really buy a sidecar for the A500 Plus to give it an accelerator board, because like you just said, you'd have to sell as many of those accelerator boards as there was Amigas to make a company wake up and go, right, I'm going to design a game with it. Do you know what I mean? I think there were a couple of companies that did. That if you load this up, it will detect there's an accelerator board. But most of the games were, we've detected you've got more memory, or we've detected you've got an AGA graphic chipset. So basically it then showed you the enhanced version. But they were few and far between. And like I say, I loved the Amiga for the video toaster that I had and the rendering and all of that sort of stuff. But I got rid of it because the PC was just too enticing for me. And it was faster, and it was becoming so low price to upgrade it all the time that I wasn't stuck with a £3,000 closed box, which is what my Amiga eventually was. So yeah, of course I bought an SX machine, then a DX machine, then a Pentium 1. And that's why there's no nostalgia, like you were saying, for PCs, because they were all beige boxes, and the only thing that made it what you remember about it is because of the new graphic card you put in it, or the new sound card you put in it, because the game sounded different or looked different. That was it, really. So
yeah. There's LFC's asking, what is the best Amiga model to own? I mean, I suppose if you want to play games, then probably the Amiga A1200, because you've got the AGA and it's got a bit more memory, and it does run a wee bit faster as well. So, and that's out the box. You're not going to put anything else in it. But
it was the quintessential. That's the top end, and the heyday of the Amiga is the 1200. Because I had an A3000. I didn't have a 1200. Never had one. Funnily enough, never had one. But I had an A3000 and an A4000. So I had that AGA chipset. So I might as well have said I've got a 1200. You see what I mean? And my favorite machine, it was the A1000. hands down, the first machine that they came out with, and it was designed so exquisitely. At that time, it looked gorgeous. But the best machine, it wasn't even the 4000, it was the 3000 that I had. I should never have got the 3000 and bought the 4000. It had more accelerator boards and toasters and all that sort of stuff inside that machine. And I only had the 4000 for 6 months and sold it for a PC. So
do you regret that? Yeah. Do you wish you still had?
I do a bit. I do a bit, but not so much, because I became what I became because I jumped ship early enough for me to have a head start with PCs when they were starting to grow. Do you see what I mean? I knew how to put a chip in one when the 386SX was around. People weren't doing things like that until much later, when they were just taking a chip out and putting them in to save money instead of buying a new board, right? But I was doing that right from the beginning. So yeah, for me, the A3000 was the better machine, but the A1000 is my home, my nostalgia, my home machine.
Yeah. So getting back to the event, I mean, so the other room, was it, I think the Amiga room, was that a wee bit smaller than the A12?
Way smaller, really.
Was it? Yeah. I mean, neither of them were particularly big. But yeah, the Amiga one, I mean, there was, I don't know, there was people selling magazines. There was a guy selling, and again, I don't really get this. There was a guy selling a brand new A1200 board that's like just been
That's
made.
Right.
He was wanting 900 quid for it.
Yeah. It was your friend that pointed that out to us.
Yeah.
And I turned around and went, this is where the hobby goes to the enthusiast who's got more money than sense.
Yeah.
Because I just turn around and go, nah, £900, nah.
You'll probably get somebody buying that and putting it in a bloody picture frame. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's
it was a beautiful looking board. Don't get me wrong, but £900
for me, the Amiga is a vehicle to play games, and that's where my interest in these things stop. Yep. So we caught up with Geezer Games, Mr. Graham Cowie. Graham was selling his Devil's Temple, his what do you call it? Championship Sprint, whatever it was called again, Turbo something or another.
He had a couple of boxes of his Bomb Jack beer edition and Rygar, I think.
And then he gave us an exclusive. A couple of mates of his are been in the process of writing this shoot 'em up, and there's me having a wee shot at it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean it played really nice and lovely graphics. It did. I think it was you that made the comparison, said it feels very much like Axley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said all it needs is the roller pin effect, and it's Axley.
Yeah. And it had great sound. The sound was bloody awesome.
I really liked it. I didn't like the explosions of the aliens themselves. They sort of seemed like they rotated a bit, but looked a bit grainy and stuff. But as a game itself, I thought, wow, this could be really something special, because I've always been a fan of Battle Squadron and Hybris and all of that sort of stuff. So when somebody introduces another shoot 'em up and it plays as slick as that one did, because this even has the effect of the exhaust fumes at the background.
That's right.
From the picture, you know, for the title screen.
Yeah, that was lovely.
You know, so you got to turn around and say this is a programmer that's got some attention to detail, to be quite honest.
So what was that? What is that then we're looking at?
I don't know. It looks like a Commodore business machine, but it doesn't look like an Amiga. See what I mean? It says PC 95 or something like that. I think that was.
Is that 5.5-inch floppies or something? Is
yeah, it's one of those Commodore PC Junior machines. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, because Commodore tried to get into the PC market. Don't get them wrong.
Yeah. But
there's Rygar, look.
There's Rygar, yeah, I see it. And there's his Devil's Temple as well.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I think we spent very, very little time in the Amiga one. Other than going in to catch up with Graham, there was really
no real reason to go in there.
Nah. I just didn't see the point of it. So really, right away, one half of the show, if you want to call it that, was weren't interested. And then I think we kept kind of going back and forwards. We'd go back into the Commodore 64 and just kind of walk about. And I think we got to a point where we're starting to get a bit bored.
Yeah. We wanted to go to the talks. We missed the first one. And it was somebody turned around to us and said, you can listen to it over at the screen over there.
No, you couldn't.
Right? No, you couldn't. Yeah, that's right. And if you were standing outside looking in, you were so far away you couldn't see anything. And we just turned around and said, we're going to have to make a beeline for this when the one comes up that we really want to go to.
Yeah, so I think the first one was Ocean.
Yeah.
Simon Butler and a couple other people. I didn't really have any interest.
Yeah,
like Gary Bracey. Gary Bracey was supposed to be there. He wasn't there.
No.
There's quite a few.
I think we knew what was going on because Chris walked past us and he had to go in to give something to the people on the table before it started, because there was this unusual lady, should we say, that we'll talk about a bit later on, that introduced everybody when it was the start of the talks.
There's me and is it going to come up? I'm looking blurry eyed, and I'll try again. Come on. Okay, what's wrong with you? It doesn't want to play.
Weird.
It might pop up eventually. Right, fuck it. It doesn't want to play. Anyway, what were we talking about?
The Ocean, and it was
and then there was 16-bit Legends. The only person,
Amiga Legends, it called it, didn't it?
The only person I would like to have probably listened to, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I spoke to the guy personally for 5 hours on my channel, was John Hare. There was Stu Cambridge, who was one of the Sensible crew, and then there was about another 3 or 4 people who I didn't actually know who they were.
I didn't. And it was you all the way through the event telling me who these people were, because I told you, I said, my names are terrible, I can't remember any of this sort of stuff. And you go, oh, there's Gary Penn over there. I went, bloody hell.
Still doesn't want to come up.
Ah, bless it.
Tell you what, I'm going to, what are you saying? Hang on. Move from that. I'm just going to try again. Present. Share screen. If I do window. The 3 Stooges, or 2 Stooges, I should say. And so what was that? That was a scramble machine, I think, behind you.
Yes, it was. Scramble. Yes, it was. It's Scramble. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I don't think it was even working.
No, I think it did at the beginning. I think it was another one of those machines that was. And I've even got a comment that I haven't answered yet from Holly saying that the Millipede machine is being repaired. No, the Missile Command is being repaired by her at some point.
Oh, I saw that, and that was on your blog. She commented.
Yeah. It's almost like she was answering you, because it was your blog that she was actually answering the comments too. That was my message to me that you did.
We were going to do something funny, but we ended up forgetting all about it. And I think
I thought to myself, we could do something funny, and we talked about all sorts of different things. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give you carte blanche to do whatever you want and say what you want, and basically you've overtook my machine. So basically, you've got my whole set. You could do what you want. You could turn around and say, oh, I've been round this right bastard's house. You know, whatever you wanted, right? Because I told you I would not look at that message even before my blog. So I did my blog, and all I did was upload that straight afterwards with a picture. And I didn't watch it. And I didn't watch it myself until it was uploaded. No word of a lie. That's how that went.
Glad I kept it clean then, mate.
Yeah. Well, I'd have only showed it my mum, and she'd have been disappointed with you. Now, if you want to disappoint my mum, you carry on.
Right, I don't know.
But we got to the graft gold, which when things started to up a little bit, I think.
Aye, Andrew Braybrooke. In fact, I'm going to attempt to show a picture again. Hang on.
I mean, I can only guide you here, but I would look at your task manager and see how many times you've got a picture editor program open, because you probably have to close them all down and then it'll open again.
I don't think so. Well, I can see. I won't try again. But yeah, so yeah, the Amiga one I thought there was really nothing in that one at all. It was just a, as you say, a few stalls selling stuff, some pimped Amigas which I had no interest in. And I says the only reason I was going into the Amiga one was just to see Graham, which was nice. Right, I'm going to try again. I'll do entire screen again. So that's Andrew Turner of Houston. Yeah, he was pretty interesting. There's Andrew Bravebrook and Justin Page.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh God, I've just gone off him. I've just realised what he's got in his bloody t-shirt. That's got Rain Violence, isn't it?
Yeah.
After I came back, I've since found out there was quite a few people that I knew that were at it, but I didn't really know what they looked like.
Yeah.
And obviously Jason Page, because Jason had said to Panther that he was going to do the music to the game that Holly was programming, if it ever came out. But I didn't know who that. I didn't realise that was.
No,
that was Justin.
And he had an interesting story.
I'm calling him Justin. Jason Page, bloody hell.
He had an interesting story though, didn't he? Because he was hired for his music, but he was also a coder, and he did some coding bits. He was saying, "Oh, I coded bits of this, that, and the other." So he actually had an interesting story to tell, because it was almost like a YTS it was when he went in there or something. He said, "I was sort of hired, in this particular way." But I think that picture says it all, because there was all these picture frames over on the right-hand side. And that's where they were doing their signatures to sell on at 40 quid or whatever it was. Those black things that are over near where the window is, that's all the frames to put the pictures in.
I mean, they were selling stuff. I don't think. Well, I think you could take up like a copy of your idiom and they would sign it. But they were trying to obviously make money. They were trying to sell posters and then they would sign it for, I don't know.
But it made it chaotic, because you have to go down the center of these row of chairs to go down and get something signed. I saw this guy go past me 3 times with a Commodore Amiga to get these big things signed. He had Jeff Minter sign it. He had everybody from Graph Gold sign it, and he just kept carrying this Amiga in a back from the back of the room to the front of the room every time there was a talk on, and it ended. And yet there was these people trying to get out of their chairs to get out and stretch their legs, because they've just been sitting down for an hour. You know what I mean? It was just mental. That was where it was chaotic for me. It was like, wow, can't even get out.
It's not working. Not to worry. So I mean, the Amiga one was a bit pants. The Commodore 64 room was very, very limited. And then I think we got to a point where we thought, right, fuck it, let's go and get something to eat.
Yeah. Well, we had a good time with the Jeff Minter one, although that was really, really weird, because we saw 20 minutes of his movie before that talk even started.
That was after lunch, was it not? Was that before? Or
no, we finished all of that.
Aye, and
because we stayed in after Graph Gold, if you remember right. He said, "Well, we might as well sit in the chairs and stay here and wait for Jeff Minter to come in."
Aye, and that was the problem, because I mean, and let's be honest, the biggest thing for me going to a Zzap live event was to see people from back in the day. So I think there was 500 tickets sold, and the room seated probably about 70, 80 people. I think they're being generous saying 80. Even if it was 80, there was going to be 420 people that weren't going to get in, which was, what would that be, 80% of the people
over 80%
money could not get in. So we did something which you probably shouldn't have done, but after we went in we went in the Graph Gold one about half an hour early, just to kind of wait, and then rather than leave, we just stayed, because we knew that if we were to leave and then go back in. We wouldn't have got a seat.
No,
But what we
no
did
chance.
do is we cheekily moved down to the front, or to was it the third row or something, I think.
Third row back, I think it was. Yeah.
And I have to say, the guy Paul Docherty, I think his name is. He is the chap that's writing he's producing the Heart of Neon movie, which is all about Lamasoft, Jeff Minter, and Giles. And what he said was he was going to give us a sneak preview, which it hadn't been seen anywhere else, and it turned into half an hour of the film that he showed us.
Yeah. It was.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well put together.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a bit psychedelic at first. It was like little boxes and light show type things with voiceovers. Then you saw Jeff Minter sometimes in his jumper looking out from an old monitor frame.
Yeah.
And then showing around his farm as well, him walking around saying, I like being around my sheep and all this sort of stuff. And then you saw some footage of the Novotel Hotel, the London days.
Now, I know you did record how much of it? 5 minutes?
Yeah, about 6 minutes of it.
Do you think we could show it on the channel, or would they not? Because they didn't. I don't know.
I don't think there'll be any problem with it, but I haven't got it. I've got it on my phone still. I haven't actually copied it across.
Right.
But I mean, I can send it to you if you want. But
I don't know. I mean, they didn't say anything about. They didn't say anything about not recording.
Well, I'm saying what I mean is I'll send it to you. You can add it into the bottom of another blog or whatever it is. You can have it by the end of tonight. But I'd have to hook it up and copy it across, and then all that. And I haven't even checked it myself.
All I will say is it's. I'm looking forward to watching the full thing. I mean, we saw half an hour of it.
Yeah.
So it does look really good. So I don't know why, but for some reason they didn't. Jeff and Giles weren't actually in the room when it was getting shown.
I did ask someone why that was, and I was told that he was around where the Amiga place was before they were going to dismantle it, and he was meeting people around. So he was in the Amiga room at the back. But that still doesn't explain to me why was he doing that at a time where he was supposed to be talking. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like, I
must admit though, I thought it was pretty good because I've met Jeff quite a few times, but to actually to be sitting watching a film about Jeff Minter, and it was it was really well done. And then at the end of it, he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Minter," and then he walked in, and it was great to kind of see him walking in. Let me just I'm going to bring up the pictures of him. You've seen this anyway. And I mean, Jeff is brilliant at talking. He always does really interesting.
He's very clear and precise, isn't he?
Is that going to work? Oh, there we go. That worked first time. There's Jeff and Giles. He is aging a lot, like us all. I wouldn't say I was shocked, but he does look a wee bit frail. And there's Giles. Giles is a lovely guy. He'll blather away to you. They're both really good guys. So that's Paul Docherty. He's the guy that's made the film. I was a wee bit surprised that they were letting him do the interview. Because there was a couple of times where he was kind of like, and he was kind of like, well, what can I ask them now? But it was really well done. It was really, it was interesting to listen to Jeff. He always talks from the heart, and he always comes out with some funny kind of anecdotes as well. You and I both asked him a question. But that was great.
Well, enough about that. Yeah.
We'll not mention that you reduced up.
Oh, we don't mind, do we? Yeah, I made him cry. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Well, you can explain to the viewers, what question did you ask him?
I was getting really bored with the questions that were being asked of him. And I remember telling you that I met him at a Novotel Hotel. And even in the footage that we saw of the movie, there was clips of him at those events, those big PCG London hotel events. So I asked him, can you can you name a time or an event that you used to go to these London hotels? A story that you're very fond of, something that happened at one of those events that always comes back into your mind when you were at those events, with Llamasoft as a stall. So then he elaborated, and it was all going lovely, and talking about how these people from London kept setting up the stall for him and hanging around all night and playing Sheep in Space or something during the day. But then, like anything, and I can totally understand where he was coming from. He's recently had a loss of his parents. I think you said it was his mother, didn't you?
Yeah, his mum passed away about
and of course, you got to remember that his mother was a big part of Llamasoft and would have been there setting up the stalls. So as soon as he started to think about his parents being there, it choked him up.
He
needed to take some time out.
He went completely quiet. And then I think somebody goes, "Oh, let's wrap it up now. Let's wrap it up." In fact, well, no, he went completely quiet, and then he broke down. And then somebody, "Oh, let's wrap it up." And then Jeff's like, "No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm glad it continued. I thought it was actually a very touching moment. We were all with him because I was with him. I'm in the same boat. And we're obviously lucky enough to chat to him just as we're leaving.
We were all very happy, and then you were all very ecstatic on how that you were actually ribbing me for the whole of the bloody time afterwards, because it was because we all knew that it had a happy end and everything, but it was like, yeah, Del Boy made a legend cry all the way through the evening. That's all I ever got.
Well, I did when we came to leave. You had already disappeared. We'll go back to the night part in a second. As we're leaving, Jeff was standing outside talking to you.
Yeah.
And I just said, "How you doing, Jeff?" Because I've met him a few times and was having a wee blather, and I says, "He's a bastard for what he did to you." He went, "Oh,
yeah, he did. That's what you said to him. He even said to you then, he said, "No, it's all right like this."
Yeah. But anyway, so that was that. So we watched that. That was really, really good. And then we decided to go and get something to eat. We kind of walked up and down the kind of precinct a few times, and then we settled on a sort of pub lunch type thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like the Bear and something or other. Really weird name.
The Bear and Staff, or something it was called.
It was something.
Yeah, it wasn't my choice of pub. It was fully like football rowdies. Well, they weren't rowdy, but they were watching football, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was not funny at all. But there was the guy that was sitting behind you.
Yeah, did I pick them all? I must attract them or something.
He was having a conversation. He was talking about himself. But yeah, anyway, that was. But what did we have again? I had a
burger and fries with onion rings,
which was quite nice. So
and they forgot your onion rings. They put lettuce in mine when I wanted it plain.
Yeah. And then we had to ask for the onion rings. So we'd literally finished our burger. Then they brought a bloody bowl of onion rings, which I think my mate tanned most of them. But anyway,
yeah, he did, didn't he?
So then we made our way back to the event for like the night thing. Now this was going to be some sort of musical event. Now you need to bear in mind that a huge part of the reason that Craig and I wanted to go was because Rob Hubbard was going to be there. And when did I announce in tiny writing that he wasn't going to be?
I got the feeling it was a couple of days, but I don't look at social media, and I didn't look at the Zzap event in social media. I got it from an email 2 days before the event, and it was in the smallest of writing that said, due to unforeseen circumstances, Rob Hubbard will not be attending because of a family thing. And it was in the smallest of things, in text for the evening part only. So it was because it was where the band members were going to be mentioned. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I saw that Saturday morning when I showed it. I said, Rob's not even going to be there.
Yeah. Good evening, Ross. So yeah, the night thing, they used the Commodore room, we'll call it, for this, and there was maybe, I don't know, maybe about 100 seats, something like that.
Yeah,
probably not much more than that. And it started off. They had a guy called I can never remember his name. He's called Ken's. That's what he's called in the interweb. He was like hosting a panel. Now there was Barry Leach, who I found out is Scottish. He was on like a link up. I think he lives in California or something. He was on that. There was John Hare. I don't know what John Hare was doing in because he doesn't write music. And then there was, is it Paul Clark who did the
Ocean Loader, didn't
the
he?
third Ocean Loader. And then there was a couple other people who I didn't actually know. Oh, there was Mark Knight, who is the Mad Fiddler.
Yes, he was.
And I don't mean in a Jimmy Savile type of way. Mark, he plays the fiddle, and he's brilliant. He's super talented.
Yeah.
And there was somebody else who I didn't recognise. Did he do Amiga music or something?
Oh, who was it?
I think he did Amiga music.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I thought the questions were shite.
It was a Q&A that lasted 45 minutes, and literally 30 minutes of that was setting up the link.
Aye.
From my perspective of it, that was what that was.
And they also had like they had a slideshow on, but they had the projector or the screen away to the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So that half the people couldn't see it. And then eventually somebody just like, oh, we better move it in. But I just thought that the panel talk was, it's like it had been made up 10 minutes beforehand.
All they kept talking about was, I had to leave the demo scene to do my game stuff. And it seems very much like we're keeping the demo side up now with what we're doing now. That's what I was getting from this. Mm-hmm. And that Peter Clark, I said to you, I don't want to be negative towards this guy, but Martin Galway's not there, and he seemed to be very disingenuous towards how he worked with him.
Was he? Yeah.
And I didn't want to say he was being nasty, because I don't think it was. It was almost like we had a rivalry, and I'm going to tell you all about this rivalry, and then I'm going to let you guess whether you think that we got on or not. But I can tell you now, I was 10 years older than him, and he seemed to be dead jealous about me being in a band, and he wasn't. That's what I got away from. That's what I took away from his talk. And I was going, well, how can this guy protect himself? He's not even there. And you haven't even said how on the days that were good, how you worked together, and how it might have affected your music and his music and all of that sort of stuff. No, it was all about the arguments. And I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about collaboration and how you came up with the magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not this other stuff. No.
But I thought the questions were rubbish. They
atrocious,
generic. wasn't good. Then there was about 15 minutes of fucking about with sound and all that, trying to set up. And then John here got the guitar and he started singing. He sung. His opening song was Golf. What was it again? I can't even remember how it went again.
I don't think that was the opening one, was it?
Oh no, it wasn't. What was the one you went? Aye.
Yeah. And I had no idea what that was about.
Super. Was it goal scoring superstar hero?
Yeah.
He was a goal scoring
he said something about he designed a tune
on the back of a truck or Sensible Soccer. That was the first one they played.
It was to sell that. He wrote a little ditty or something to sell the game off the back of a truck or something.
Oh, what was the game again? Oh, Sensible Golf. Yeah. So it was just John here singing. He sung Sensible Soccer. He sung the golf one, and then he started playing some of his own music.
And apparently, he ended with a good one, which I wasn't there for because I went to the toilet.
You must have left before that one. Then
you know what? I'm not.
John. I mean, I don't know if this is going to come up. Is it going to work? Is it buggery? John is a lovely guy, and he's a talented guy. But you need to remember, we are Commodore 64 nerds. We went along to a Zzap live event. We weren't wanting to listen to John here singing his own music.
No.
For completely nothing to do with video games. I mean, they would have been better getting Chris Abbott to put on some of his tunes and just having like lights flashing or something, have it up really loud. That'd have been nice.
Well, that's what was so disappointing to me, because even the stalls had musicians there selling their Sid renditions of game music, right? Obviously, C64 Audio was there, but even Cytronic and Sid Man and all of this sort of stuff were selling their music on CDs. And what happens? You get to the evening event, and there's a oldish guy with pulled back ponytail with a guitar and a fiddler playing some music that was so obscure. It wasn't even Commodore 64 music, it was Amiga music. And apparently it didn't get better until right at the end, where they did a set that would have been something like 10:30 or 11:15 at night if we'd have stayed.
Yeah, obviously we had to. Well, you left. You left. In fact, my friend said that you had a migraine. That's all right. Look at the time.
Is that the reason why you came out? Because I was about to come in, you see.
Oh, right. He said you'd left because you had a migraine. And then we looked at the time. It was 9:30. I thought, we've got an hour's drive up the road. I've got a 7-hour drive tomorrow morning. So, and I think at that point, I said to my mate, do you want to go? He went, aye. And he was up quicker than a rat up a drain pipe. I mean, it was like, we'd had enough. I think it probably did get better. I think I saw like Mark Knight playing, just some kind of Sid music, whatever. But I thought it was very, very, very disappointing. Really, really disappointing.
The most disappointing part of that for me was the evening. Bit. I was going, yeah.
I don't know. I think the entire event was disappointing. Apart from the Graf Gold and the Lamasaw talk, and getting to see Archer McLean's.
And that's not wrong. It's just that I can't name a good bit in the evening, and I can actually turn around and say, well, I like the Jeff Minter bit, and I like the Graf Gold bit, and I like this, what was, the Archer McLean bit. And I can't name one positive in the evening. I'm sorry. So I have to turn around and say, I agree with that was hugely disappointing when I'd forked out £16 or £18 for that bit at the end.
Yeah.
I was going, you know what I mean?
Cheers, Robert. Good evening, Colin. Yeah, it was disappointing. And again, as I touched on earlier on, the big thing for me was going along to meet people that are involved in the C64. Now, Andrew Braybrook was there, obviously Steve Turner, call it Jeff Minter, Gary Penn. I mean, Gary Penn at no point, he didn't take part in. Why wasn't there a Gary Penn, Andrew Braybrook, and Jeff Minter talk? Yeah. And I said I wanted to go up and speak to these guys, and I just kind of I didn't want to stand about like some kind of fanboy waiting to get my picture taken or whatever. Yeah, colour me disappointed. Would I go back right now? No. I mean, I spoke to Chris Wilkins midway through it, and I just said I kind of commented about the size of the room, and he went, well, he says, this is the first event. I think Chris lives in Kenilworth. This was the first event. This was the closest to his house, and this was the only place he could have it. And from what I gather, looking at some comments on the Zzap Live Facebook page, they've already had a sort of like a chat to see what could we do better, what went wrong. Now, to go right back to Ox's question, what would you like to see if there was going to be a Zzap Live 2024? What do you think they need to improve?
Yeah, bigger event, and not the bottom of a hotel.
Yeah, but more space. Do you think?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's got to be a bigger space, because the bottom hotel where people have to book in to get into their rooms is not the place that you have a venue. An event to have, because you've got a mix of all different people being there for different reasons, clogging up aisles for different reasons. I mean, people with their suitcases trying to book in while you're trying to go past them to get to the thing that you've paid for. It's atrocious.
I think if they were going to ask for my opinion, I would say what you need to do is you need to get a bigger area, bigger room, get Jeff Minter back, get a dozen Commodore 64s, get Sheep in Space running, get rid of this alpha running, try and set it up like a 1980s event, have all of Lamasoft's games running, you can be playing it and you can be saying to Jeff, you know what, see this game, you're an absolute bastard, this is fucking difficult, and you can actually interact with them. Have Gary Penn sitting there behind the Zzap magazines, whatever, have a Houston one with Uridium and all these things. I've actually interacted more with Andrew Braybrook on Twitter in the last week. We've been kind of not chatting, but kind of going back and forwards a wee bit.
I think you've knocked it right on the head, because I think that's probably the most pertinent thing that you could have said, because to be quite honest, it's the chaotic. I'm mixing Commodore 16s with 64s all around with no specific order, with just random games being put on with no thing that says this was 82, this was 83, this was 84, which would have been much more structured and
yeah, you could have, as you say, you could have like what I was suggesting. If you had like let's just say that we were going to be, if we could go back in time and we were going to be in charge of Zzap 2023, I would have a Lamasoft area with G64s all running Jeff's games. Jeff and Giles sitting behind, they can be playing them, you can be talking to them when you're playing it. Have Andrew Braybrook, have Uridium, Paradroids, Alicat, all these ones. Have a Zzap area. Then you could even have Zzap Sizzlers 1985. You could have Zzap Sizzlers with the review, the framework, with the review of the game running beside it. You could play Elite, you could play Paradroid, whatever it was, all the gold medal, or you could have like the gold medal games, all whatever. But as you say, it's almost like, what are we going to put in this? Oh, we'll put some shitty game. Have you actually tested it? No, because there was a C16 game I was trying to run and it wouldn't run. I was pressing fire button, it wouldn't work.
That's a fantastic idea, and I'll tell you the reason why. They even had some text adventure games there, right? So you could section this out, couldn't you? Say the review section, the adventurer's world over there, and all of this sort of stuff, because those were sections in the actual magazine itself. In fact, I can't think of an area where Zzap was anywhere. You know what I mean? It wasn't saying Zzap, this is Zzap 64, other than the stall that they were selling their magazines from. That was it. That was the only thing that had Zzap anywhere.
Yeah. The other big thing, they should have had a bigger area for talks and get somebody decent who knows how to interview somebody.
Yeah, you.
It's a bit...
You could have come up questions off of your head.
You know what? I'm going to sing my own praises. I'm bloody good at interviewing people.
Yeah.
Ask questions. I just heard yesterday that John Romero wants to come back to Blackpool, so he's going to be there this year. And he'll go, where's that little Scottish twat? Oh, he's not here. Oh, fucking hell. No, seriously, and yeah, I mean, no, I'm not going to start talking, but get some decent, get people.
I'm just moving my head away so people can see my TV, because there's something fun going on.
Oh yeah, nice. Get a decent panel. Get somebody who's going to ask some interesting questions, and actually have a bit of volume. Get some speakers, because half the time you couldn't hear what was being said.
Couldn't hear them.
What else? But I think the layout, and I would almost say do an Amiga one for some. Have a separate Amiga one. Keep it Commodore 64. You could have had these two rooms. Maybe they can't.
I see why they did that, because it did turn into Zzap and Amiga later on. It was only for about 20 or so magazines, if I remember rightly, but it did combine the two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I as far as I'm concerned, that was supposed to be a 64 event, a Zzap 64 event.
Yeah. And it's almost like the arcade cabinets were an afterthought, because like a couple of them didn't even work. But no, I think what we're saying is, I think you should have dedicated a Lamasoft area with all the games. Try and recreate what do you call it? Recreate one of the events from the 80s. That's what you want with the machines. The actual people that wrote them, have one for Graph Gold. By all means, have one for Sensible Software, whatever.
Well, being as I saw more people playing on Archer McLean's equipment than any other machine that was there, has to make you think. If you had a Llama section and an Archer McLean section, and if you had a Tony Crowther section, and all of these people did those interviews in that very first magazine, and that makes sense, because it's like these were the coders of the day, and that makes sense. So
think about it. I mean, Lamasoft were one of the panels. How many Commodore 64s did you see running Hover Bother or Revenge of the Mutant Camels? There was Attack of the Mutant Camels running for a short time on the 64.
We had to load our own grid runner on the VIC-20, didn't we? Because it was that Onion game, wasn't it? That I said, oh look, there's that cheese and onion game over there. Look.
Aye. So there was really it kind of screamed to me like it had been pulled together and very, very, very quickly. Now, I know for a fact that, and that, this isn't a dig, and I hope that if Chris Wilkins and any of the guys watch this video, I hope they don't think this is we're putting the boot in, because, I still enjoyed it, but we're offering some constructive criticism. And what surprises me is Chris Wilkins has hosted a lot of events. He does this revival. He's hosted a lot of these things. So I don't quite know why this one was so poor, and I have been to quite a few of these.
Like I said, to me, it was just where the event was held was the biggest problem that this thing actually had, because it was just too small, and then it was chaotic when it was put together, in regards to its makeup, with random 16s and 64s and all of this. It was just, to me, with a bit of structure and a bigger venue, that would at least bump it up by 30-40% in my eyes. And I've turned around to you and I've said I got something out of it. It was all right. It's just, if you were to ask me, was I ecstatic about that day? No.
Mm-hmm. No, we came away.
A lot of people kept turning around and saying, the biggest thing that I liked about that event was meeting my friends to have a chat with at a great event. And I'm going, well, yeah, but that's what you should get at every event. Your mates are going there and you're going to an event. It isn't, oh, I haven't seen you for ages and you made this event for me. What if you weren't there then? That's how I kept coming away with that. How were you guaranteed that your friend was going to be there? So
yeah, and the thing is, the actual event itself, I mean, what was it? Was it about, I can't remember how much it was. Was it 25 quid for the day thing, and then it was about 15 quid or 18
That's
quid?
What I said. It was like 15 or something pounds for the evening, and it was obviously the day event was more because it was for a longer period of time. But if you put the two together, and you'd spent 50, 60 quid.
Yeah, it was a lot of money for.
And I got a goodie bag out of it, but I might not. I might have missed that if it weren't for the fact that your friend pointed it out to me that I should have got one in the first place. Yeah.
Listen, before we forget, you recorded a sort of a 5-minute kind of walk round of the thing, which
very poor quality. But what I'm saying is that you can sort of get a gist of the size. I will say that. Turn the sound down, just watch it.
Yeah, right. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can.
If it plays at all. But the problem is that my phone had been in my pocket for such a long period of time that the exposure was set wrong. I must have pressed one of the buttons and the exposure was well out. But it's watchable enough.
I don't know if I can get you. Well, you did a wee kind of commentary, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, you can listen to it if you want. But
let's just play this anyway.
Yes. So.
Or do you want that? Do you want the commentary on or off?
I don't mind.
I've come to the Holiday Inn in Kenilworth, where there's been a Zzap event, and started off here where I was stamped so that I could go to all the parts of the event. And this is where most of the talks were.
Yeah, all 50 seats.
And just come out of an event where we all were talking to Jeff Minter. My little anecdote about Jeff Minter was that I asked him a question and I made him cry. So not a particularly great event for me. This
is
was
the
a lovely
Commodore Amiga
area. This
section.
is where all the Commodore Amiga stuff was.
Oh, this was
Had a
that.
wonderful time in here.
We're all packing up.
Yeah, so everything's packing up, but at least you get the size of the
Yeah.
event.
Cheers, Phil. Cheers for coming, mate. Nice to catch up with you.
And spent a little bit of time here. And went on a new game. Got some
Tell you
pictures
what,
on that. That was wonderful. I was with my friend May.
Don't mind, what we'll do is we'll take that down. So there, that was the Amiga one. There was Graham. That stall was selling little bits and pieces, bits of hardware or something, was it?
Yeah, like Go drives and things.
Obviously, yeah. You went in after it's kind of getting packed up, but that gives you a kind of a flavour for the sort of size of it. But it was just a hodgepodge of bloody Amigas. We didn't spend a lot of time in here.
And it was weird how they were dismantling it all, because on the actual email it says that they were going to be there till 5 o'clock the next day.
Right. And then had a bloody Raspberry Pi playing on an Amiga. What is that got to do with? Come on, we can all do that back home.
Out of these weird cases, these suitcase things.
And that I understand why they use like recreated machines, but people have got recreated machines in the house. When they come to these events, they want to play real hardware.
Yeah.
And if it is a business, let's be honest, it is a business. These guys are making money, so they really need to. I'm not saying try harder, because I'm sure it's you can't exactly pick up.
Yeah, you missed that bit. He called you a bastard. Anyway, keep going.
He probably did. Oh, there's that guy's belly. Was that your belly? No, you were videoing this at that point.
Yeah, I was videoing it.
Couldn't be you then, eh?
You'll see you in a minute. You'll be there.
You'll see my belly. And that was the cafe bit there. That's one of the suitcases things that
we
you're
were
talking
360 playing Project Gotham Racing, and there's somebody
playing
The Last of Us.
I know. And then I think the Vectrex was, you can just see the Vectrex. There's a Vectrex there.
And the Vectrex actually turned out okay on the camera. It doesn't flicker or anything. Look.
I wonder if that's because if it's got one of these screens across it. See that screen? That's a thing you can buy. It's like a fluorescent screen thing that you can overlay thing. So
that turned out well.
And then that you saw a TV in the left-hand side. That's where they were showing the talks. But yeah, they had a kid on pinball with like it was a emulated.
Oh, the
pinball.
Star Wars were on a yoke. It had a stand-up Star Wars. There's that Legends game thing I told you about. Legends Ultimate. That's it.
That's quite nice. I mean, I know it's a brand new thing. I did like that. I mean, I would quite happily have one of these. And there's the Sega Saturn playing, and there's Archer's machine not working, unfortunately.
Yeah, Holly will be working on that this week. This particular missile command was owned by the late Archie McLean. Yeah,
I never saw that. Yeah,
I dropped that. Put it back on the top.
There was that was a scramble machine, I think it was. It had some kind of old-fashioned TV. And there's Mr. here.
There's you, look.
We're about. Oh, right, yeah. I don't know what I was doing there.
Because I got in the way of everybody.
Oh, this young lady.
Get out of the way. Shift yourself. That's all she kept saying to me.
She wasn't happy. She was taking the pizzas out. Calling you a twat, obviously.
Oh.
No, I think that was me making a wee joke about you getting a mouthful.
Yeah, you did as well, didn't you? Upsetting somebody else, I think you said. So think of all of those with tables all around, and that's pretty much what that was.
Yeah, unfortunately, we recorded this a bit late. So there's Archer's Commodore 64 and Atari 800. That was nice. I'll take that one away and that little kind of shrine to him with all these games, which was quite nice.
Yeah, the different covers for Drop Zone. There was so many of them. I was going, wow. And then I just sort of like wrapped it up and ended it, I think, just about. It was really just to show you the size of the event, really. But I was so surprised that it was just being dismantled.
The thing is, I know some people are watching this thinking, why did you not take it when the event was actually on? But the thing is, there was nothing to actually look at. It was just so busy. and all you would have got would have been people's backs and the back of people's heads. There was nothing visual about the event at all.
No.
So now listen, just we're going to wrap this up. Just to kind of summarise, I think what to summarise, why were you disappointed, and what do you think they could do better next time? If there's going
Because
to
it was chaotic. That's the whole point. There was no structure to it at all. It might as well have been a garage event. Do you know what I mean? It's hard for me to explain my disappointment side of it, because I knew what they were trying to do, but to me, that could have been a village hall with a load of painters' tables spread out with Commodores on them, and people and a little sticker on it saying "Play me." You know what I mean? with no thought about what to be even put on as games. You know what I mean? Like which I think is your most pertinent point. Total. You got to think about this.
Yeah.
I mean, Zzap was well known for gold medals. Sizzlers, Crash was well known for its, you know what
they could have had. Why didn't they have like what was it, the challenge that they used to have in Zzap?
Yeah,
they could have had Gary Penn. You
high score challenge. Yeah,
you pick a game to play against Gary Penn, and if you beat him, you get like a T-shirt or something.
Yeah,
they could have. I mean, I really thought it was going to be like the Zzap magazine, but live. It was nothing. The Zzap thing was almost like incidental.
The other thing I came away with is I couldn't get over the overlying arc that all they wanted was my money.
Oh yeah.
That's all they wanted. It was like, buy a raffle ticket. No, it's all right. I'll do one later on. Have this game, 45 quid. 45 quid. What you right, etc. etc. It was just get a signature. It'll cost you.
I think the only person that was doing good deals was Chris Abbott.
Oh, he did an amazing deal. My God, that's Synology for 20 quid.
Yeah, and he gave you like a free Rob Hubbard mug if you bought something.
He did the biggest thing he could actually do for me, because Rob Hubbard wasn't there. I'd got the digital edition of the Rob Hubbard box set, which is 10 CDs, and he sold it to me for 35 quid. He then signed it, and I'd been speaking to Chris Abbott, you got to remember, since 2000, 2001. And he gave me the front booklet to the Back in Time CD1, which I'd already showed you the day before. Only it had got the signatures of Rob Hubbard in it, Martin Galway in it. I got all the signatures underneath there inside the book where their tracks are listed. Mm-hmm. So I've got all these signatures of the composers. Alistair Brimble's signatures in there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, he just gave me that for free, plus a Rob Hubbard mug, which you had a cup of coffee of the next morning, by the way.
But they need to have some sort of structure to the games based on themes. Try and build it around the Zzap magazine. Have a Zzap challenge. Have Gary Penn sitting there. Even the guests, there was really no opportunity to speak to the people unless you wanted to kind of stand like some sort of like stalker. There was no, because even at the end of the talks, it was only going to be the 50 people that could talk to them. But then you were expected to buy something to get them to sign. So there was no opportunity to actually just go up and talk to Jeff about something or talk to Gary Penn. On numerous occasions, I was kind of looking across. I wanted to say hello to Andrew Braybrook. I wanted to say hello to Gary Penn, and I had never had the opportunity. So this thing about having the guests, to me, was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
It was fine for those that actually got a chance to speak to them. And secondly, and finally, you need to get a bigger room with a better setup and get somebody that actually wants to ask some decent questions rather than that person.
You've been to far more events than I have, but I gave my opinion of it, and I think yours is much better structured than my answer. So I think I'd go with what you said. You've got to look at what made Zzap magazine,
mm-hmm.
and the event has got to bring back the nostalgia of that. And if you haven't got that at the event, then you haven't got the event.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I would go so far as to say that play Blackpool whilst I'm bored of it is much better.
Never been.
Yeah, like it's much. I've been too many times, but yeah, like I says, I hope if Chris Wilkins or any of the guys watch this video, take the criticism as constructive criticism. We're not trying to put the boot in, because I couldn't wait to go to this. And if they do change things up, I know I said to you last week that I wouldn't come down to this. If it's the same format, I definitely won't go back. I would have been disappointed had I gone to that in Glasgow. I'd have been disappointed. I thought, fucking hell, I could have went to the cinema or something. But to travel 700 miles to see that, it was a great weekend, because I got to catch up with you and
Well, that's
Mrs.
really nice of you to
Mrs.
say
D.
that.
And
of
that
course
was the saving grace. You know what I mean?
You got the Britain's best chips. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
yeah. What can we say? So anyway, yeah. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, guys. Apologies.
Yeah, you met the Queen Mum. My mum.
Yeah, she made it all worthwhile.
She so misses you. It's unbelievable.
Oh, bless her. I was telling my girlfriend.
I swear she wants to inherit you or something.
I was telling my girlfriend. She says, "Well, you should be phoning her." And I thought, "Oh, I could. Your mum wouldn't mind me giving her a wee phone now and again, eh?"
She shocked you. She shocked you. Do you remember what she said to you?
Yeah, we'll keep that. We'll keep that.
We'll keep that one to ourselves. But I mean, she shocked you then, didn't she? Your face, you went. What?
I don't blush very easily, but anyway.
Did your mum just say that? And that's all we're going to say. I think we'll end on that
We shall
bombshell.
end there. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, listen. Thanks to you, Craig, for coming on the channel as always. It's always great fun to catch up. And finally, thank you very much to everybody that's taken up their Friday night to listen to us two buffoons talking fish.
I've enjoyed it immensely, but I always do
great.
coming on. Thank you so much. But
no, you're more than
remembering
welcome.
Things of that day, plus your whole visit to me has made it worthwhile. Because I tell you what, I spent a week getting that room ready for you. Bloody hell.
And it's just quickly, do you always get these weekend come downs? You feel a bit depressed, eh? That's it.
Yeah, I did feel deflated when you'd gone. So
yeah, but we'll get back again anyway. So anyway, folks, listen, I will be along as always on Sunday, 7 till 9. Now that I've got some decent Sharp X68000 images, I'm going to do a Sharp X68000 stream. So until next time, guys, have a fantastic Friday night and enjoy your weekend. Till next time, see you later.
Bye.